Well, today is a very interesting day indeed. Nintendo has officially confirmed the placement of Breath of the Wild in the Zelda timeline. The man himself, Eiji Aonuma, confirmed it during a recent interview. And while the results shouldn't be too surprising to anyone who really knows The Legend of Zelda. So do you want to know where Breath of the Wild takes place in the timeline? Well, at the very end, of course. Now you might be saying, yeah, duh, of course it takes place at the end. But at the end of which timeline? And you see, that's where it gets interesting. Nintendo has officially confirmed that Breath of the Wild takes place at the end of the timeline, but the game isn't actually connected to any of the previous 3 splits. It just sort of exists there at the end. That probably upsets a few people out there because it seems like a bit of a cop-out, right? And I guess you could see it as such, but the thing is, that's also exactly what I predicted about a year ago. You see, a while ago, even before the game came out, I made a video entitled, "The Timeline Doesn't Matter." In that video, I went into detail about all the inconsistencies in the timeline, and why it's more of an afterthought for Nintendo rather than the end-all, be-all to Zelda lore. And I'll admit, I was a little more harsh than I needed to be. I'll be real with you in saying I made that video because I was frustrated seeing basically a new timeline theory every day, and I think I came off a bit more rude than I intended, so I actually got a little bit of flack from the community for it. But I was, and I still am, firm in my belief that at the end of the day, each Zelda game stands on its own. And while it's nice that Nintendo occasionally does link the games together with direct sequels and clear connections to other entries in the franchise, those are not as important as we seem to give them credit for. I think it's awesome that Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are directly connected. I was incredibly happy that A Link Between Worlds and A Link to the Past were so closely related to one another, and I think it's great how Skyward Sword acts as a prequel to the entire series, giving us clear origins to some of Zelda's iconic locales and characters. All those things are great, and they do enhance things for players who take the time to play all the games, but the beauty of all this is that anyone who is new to the series doesn't need to understand all that to enjoy whatever game they're playing. I don't need to play Skyward Sword to understand what's happening in Twilight Princess, and that's a wonderful thing and a testament to how each game can stand on its own. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off topic now. I will admit, it did feel pretty good reading this interview from series producer Eiji Aonuma. I felt sort of vindicated and justified in a way, but real quick, let's go through it together because it's pretty short and I don't want to leave anything out. So this interview was originally done by Famitsu Magazine, then it's been translated and posted online to a bunch of different outlets. I'll make sure I leave links in the description down below so you can check it out for yourself if you want to. In the interview, Famitsu was addressing both series producer Eiji Aonuma and Breath of the Wild's director. They begin the interview with this question: what the changes meant. And of course, they're speaking in regards to the timeline. To which Aonuma replies, well, of course it's at the very end, but I get what you're asking. It's which timeline is at the end of? Hidemaru Fujibayashi, the game's director, replies, that's up to the player's imagination, isn't it? To which Aonuma continues, Hyrule's history changes with time. When we think of the next game and what we want to do with it, we might think, oh, this'll fit well, and place it neatly into the timeline. But sometimes we think, oh crap, you have to change the placement. Actually, the decided history has been tweaked many times. Fujibayashi continues, lately within the company, a term called new translation has cropped up. Strictly speaking, we don't change it, but rather, new information and truths come to light. The interviewer from Famitsu chimes in saying, I see. So the way to interpret the lore of Breath of the Wild is still up for academic debate. Fujibayashi replies saying, that's why you should pay attention to future studies as well. Please look forward to it. So from the man himself, the timeline isn't as rigid as everyone seems to believe it is. It's more fluid and constantly changing. Not everything is set in stone and not everything needs to make sense to connect to one another. Breath of the Wild's placement at the end, disconnected from everything else, makes perfect sense to me. The game takes place 10,000 years between its beginning and whatever other events preceded it. In that time, you could fit countless other Zelda games. Remember, Link was only in the Chamber of Resurrection for 100 years after the initial 10,000, so who knows how many other adventures Link could have gone on after the original sealing of Calamity Ganon. Yeah, right now we don't have that history, But I mean, that could be the next Zelda game, or the one after that. Who really knows at this point? To further prove my point, at the very end of the interview, Famitsu points out one other change to the official timeline. This one takes place in the Fallen Hero timeline. Link's Awakening now officially takes place before the Oracle games, rather than afterwards. This was probably done to shut down the theory that Link from A Link to the Past died at sea, which is actually a pretty big change. It instantly makes all copies of Hyrule Historia now incorrect. I'm honestly more shocked that Nintendo would just completely move a game's placement in the timeline than where they actually ended up placing Breath of the Wild. But as both I and now Nintendo themselves have shown us, the timeline is just a constantly evolving mess. We can try to make sense of it as much as we want, but if the guys who created the games don't even have a solid grasp on where to place them, well, I don't think any of us are really gonna do much better of a job. And don't get me wrong, I love Zelda theories as much as the next guy, and I agree, trying to find connections in games we love can be fun and exciting, but I've seen people overdo it to the point of almost arguing with people on the internet about the Zelda timeline, and honestly, it just sort of makes our Zelda community look a little more toxic than it needs to be. We all have a love for Zelda, and it's that common ground that should unite us and bring us together, not tear us apart. You could come up to me tomorrow and tell me your favorite game is Spirit Tracks, and you know what? I completely disagree with you and think that game is garbage, but I'd gladly let you continue to enjoy it while I go off and do something I can enjoy more, like, well, basically anything is more enjoyable than Spirit Tracks, so you get my point. Anyways, I think that's where I'm going to end off this video. I've said it once and I'll say it again, I love Zelda lore as much as the next guy, but the timeline placement, especially when it comes to Breath of the Wild, isn't as important as the internet makes it out to be. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, a like rating would be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more of my videos, consider subscribing. But once again, guys, my name is Matt. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Alright, so this video was kind of short, but I figured I might as well just briefly update you on what's been going on because it's been kind of crazy around here, and I haven't really been uploading that much. So first things first, I moved. I was previously living in Connecticut, now I live in Georgia. The reason why I moved and the reason why I haven't had a lot of time recently is because I'm starting my freshman year of college or university in about a week, actually less than that now. So basically once I found out that I got accepted, it was a mad dash to get everything packed up, move down here, and then also set everything back up here again. And then also finish up other preparations for school, get a car, and a bunch of other stuff like that. And that's basically what I've been doing for about a month now. It's taken up a lot of my time. It's my first time moving. I didn't really expect it to be as time consuming as it was. Not only that, but I had a family member pass away recently, so I had to fly back up to Connecticut to attend the funeral and everything that goes along with that. So I've just been stretched incredibly thin when it comes to time. The office space down here in Georgia isn't even completely set up yet. It's good enough for like small recordings like this, but there's still some work to do, like acoustic panels still need to go up before it's really ready to pump out a bunch of content on the regular. Hopefully I can get that done soon though. I have been slowly getting work done on Act 2 of the Zelda documentary though, so that's still coming. I didn't forget about that, and moving shouldn't really affect that too much, especially since I did all the filming for Act 2 months ago. We're just in the editing phase, and I'm trying to finish that as soon as I possibly can, but as I said, there just hasn't been a ton of time to dedicate to it, and now with college starting up, that also might get in the way somewhat. I don't know. Point is, I'm sorry for not having a ton of videos this year, but honestly, it's just been one thing after the other this year, and it's been really, really busy. I think now it might start to calm down, and once I get used to my schedule for school, I'll be able to spend more of my free time working on videos. That's actually sort of what I'm going to school for. I'm going for a mass media degree, which is, you know, filming, television production, documentary filmmaking, all that good stuff. But, yeah, I just wanted to sort of give you that quick update. So the video is over. Thanks for listening. If you want, like, even more up-to-date stuff or just want to, like, know the status of something that I'm working on, feel free to reach out to me via Twitter or Instagram. I spend most of my time on those social medias, so that's, like, the easiest way to get in touch with me. But, yeah, I think that about does it. So, alright, cut the video now. We're done here.